Well, I know you heard of a RICO, but this is the FRICO.
Stacey, you say today's indictment reads like a mob indictment. What was most shocking to you of all these allegations?
Yeah, the fact, Jake, that the government in this indictment presented evidence alleging that Sean Combs was running a criminal enterprise, and they actually named it in the indictment, the Combs Enterprise. And they said that this enterprise consisted of him as the alleged leader, his employees, assistants, staff, allegedly, that were able to procure women and alleged male sex workers to engage in performances for his own sexual gratification. Where it differs from a mob indictment, it has all the elements of putting together this racketeering allegation of all these moving pieces using resources from his businesses. But the fact that this is about an allegation of sexual gratification being accomplished by alleged human trafficking. It's one of the most unique indictments I've ever seen in this area, in the area of sex crimes, because the government isn't actually prosecuting the sex crimes other than the human trafficking or the sex trafficking. They're not prosecuting any type of alleged sexual abuse to women, although that's part of this racketeering scheme. But the actual charges are racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transporting individuals over state lines to engage in prostitution. The reasoning around all of this, his alleged motivation as presented in that indictment by the government is for his own personal gratification. And that's just the strangest type of indictment I've ever seen. But I agree with you. This indictment it's very disturbing. The facts presented are out of, a very bad Hollywood story. And a lot of the evidence, alleged evidence, that's been gathered in this case was from those two raids that were conducted on his personal homes in Miami and Los Angeles. And the indictment names the things seized that he allegedly made videos of these sexual performances that have been named freak-offs. And there seems to be a ton of evidence allegedly tying this scheme together. So it's an interesting way of prosecuting it, but I understand why they did it that way.
So what did you make of what Elizabeth Wagmeister just reported? And obviously, Sean Diddy Combs and his attorneys they're going to get their day in court. But the idea that the government, in their characterization, does not say that anybody did any of these things non-consensually. What do you make of that?
I make of that as being a big flaw already in the government's case, which the defense was quick to point out. Even if he was engaging in this alleged conduct, there was no allegation or no statement in that indictment saying that any of these alleged victims or alleged witnesses willingly participated in some of these acts that people find offensive, that sound to be offensive. And that's a very important part of the case. What was the consent? But there are enough charges here where outside of what the alleged victims are going to say about how he was using the resources allegedly from his enterprises, his businesses, his well-known Bad Boy Entertainment, his clothing line resources, his liquor line resources. Allegedly, there were funds used from the resources to engage in this alleged prostitution activity across state lines. And that's why it's a federal case, because it's across straight lines. So there are some problems that the defense has brought up originally, but it seems like, just from reading this 14-page indictment, that there is enough physical evidence to perhaps get a conviction in this case. We shall see. These are allegations.
So the Office of the Southern District of New York seems awfully confident about their ability to handle the scope and complexity of the case. But still, why do you think it took them so long for them to go after Combs, considering they allege his crimes have been going on for more than a decade?
My theory is that the government had an easy time putting together this final prosecution because of all the civil actions existing against Sean Combs right now. The case with Cassie, which that video was shown, his former girlfriend, where he was seen assaulting her. It looked like certainly that he was assaulting her on video. I think the government and investigators were able to accumulate all this easy evidence that was just handed to them from the attorneys who prepared the civil cases that are now pending against him. I think things just started piling up, and eventually Sean Combs got to a place where his luck ran out, and therefore he was indicted and arraigned.
We're going to fight this case with everything we have, as is he, and eventually he's going to be shown to be innocent.
That was the attorney for music mogul Sean Diddy Combs vowing to fight for Combs after a judge denied the rapper and music mogul bail and ordered him to stay in federal detention until the beginning of his criminal sex crimes trial. Combs faces 3 federal charges: racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Combs has pleaded not guilty to those charges. In an unsealed indictment, prosecutors allege Combs, quote, abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct, unquote. It goes on to say, quote, on numerous occasions from at least in or about 2009 and continuing for years, Combs assaulted women, among other things, striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects at, and kicking them, unquote. Combs has been for years a celebrated artist. His work is credited with growing the hip-hop genre and cultivating top artists such as Christopher Wallace, better known as Notorious B.I.G. And now Combs is obviously a criminal defendant. CNN's Ellie Honig, who used to work as a prosecutor for the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York, joins us now. Ellie, as he was leaving court for the day, Combs' attorney said they're appealing the decision on bail. How likely is that appeal to succeed?
Right, Jake. So people understand what happened. The judge who made the decision today was a magistrate judge. That is essentially a judge who handles ministerial tasks, initial appearances. Tomorrow, the defense will take the case to the district judge. That's the judge who will handle this case all the way through trial. If I had to guess, I would say the district judge will agree with the magistrate judge and keep Sean Combs locked up. First of all, the law says that when a person's facing the charges Sean Combs is facing, the presumption is that he gets locked up pending trial. So the field is automatically tilted in the prosecution's favor. He is looking at a minimum of 15 years behind bars if he's convicted. The prosecutors argue that. And finally, prosecutors argued intensely that Sean Combs is engaged in constant obstruction of justice, intimidating witnesses, bribing witnesses, and that usually strikes a chord with judges when they're considering bail.
What do you make of the charges and the indictment? Does it seem solid to you? One of the responses from Sean Combs' defense team seemed to be they don't have anybody who alleges that they did anything non-consensual.
Yeah, I don't get that read out of the indictment. Of course, we're hearing from both sides. Now, it strikes me as a strong indictment. We do have to keep in mind it's a one-sided document. It's the prosecution's allegations. But a couple things jump out to me. First of all, they have videotape. We've all seen the videotape of the assault on one of those women who's alleged to be a victim. That's going to be a really tough piece of evidence for the defense. And if you look beyond the indictment, there was a companion document filed today that says that prosecutors have talked to and plan to call dozens of victims and witnesses. So even if the defense can discredit 1 or 2 or 3, they're going to have to deal with dozens of victims pointing the finger at Sean Combs.
Dog, if I asked you how many bottles of lube you think you used in your whole life, what would the answer to that question be? How many bottles of lube you think you used in your whole life, and how many bottles of lube you think you ever would use? Bro, they found that boy Diddy with 1,000 bottles of lubrication and baby oil. 1,000 bottles, bro. Also, some more information that came out. Diddy was having marathons of sex, bro. This nigga was doing 4 or 5 days, 3 to 5 days, a marathon of sex. He was on his Nipsey Hustle. It ain't a race, it's a marathon. Like, bro was running marathons in the pussy. Even though, crazy part is, he wasn't even the one doing the work. He in the freak off for 72 hours. Meanwhile, he been whacking off in the corner. He been whacking it in the corner the whole time, this whole 3 days, while Shorty getting her box drilled by this man Dingo. Both of them sore. Only thing sore on Diddy is his hand and his beef. That's why he need 1,000 bottles of lube. He pleasuring himself. He over here pleasuring himself while they getting it in. He watching the freak off. I know he was participating though. Ain't no way he was just videotaping and watching him do his girl and he wasn't getting something in his book. I don't know. I think he was, I'm pretty sure Diddy was on the Mook stuff too, bro. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I'm pretty sure Diddy was on the Mookie. But It's nasty work, gang. This is wild. This is nasty work, gang. Like, listen, man, Diddy locked up, denied bail, bro. He's sitting in MDC right now, Metropolitan Detention Center, where a lot of other criminals been. Now, I don't know if they got Diddy. I'm pretty sure Diddy not in population. Diddy is definitely PC'd up, or wherever they house them special celebrities. You know, they got them special housing for celebrities and all that. They're not gonna have them in population though. Even though they say Diddy a G. But I don't know, man. Diddy going outside, bro. It's looking like he facing life in prison, bro. Life in prison. Some of these charges that he's hit with right now, he ain't convicted yet. But everybody's saying, as you can see, what the news is saying, it's looking like it's going down. This is the end for him. But he's facing life in prison, bro. Life in prison. He let his head downstairs get him in that type of trouble, which is nasty work, man. Sheesh. I'm going, bros. Subscribe to the video, like the video. I'll see you on the next one. Any new updates, any important information come out about this, I'll be here with it. Other than that, you got your daily videos and reactions. So make sure you subscribe, like the video with your guy, Gemini by Law. I'm gone.